First challenge which I see is how to integrate place-based innovation policy, that's the kind of term in regional economics, with global value chains, European value chain policies. Why I think it's quite important? Because when you look at the range of strategies which are floating around, then you see that far too many of them actually inward-oriented, even in the countries and regions which grew very much based on the globalization trends, FDI and value chains. And that there's a kind of almost implicit understanding that these two are substitutes. Well, the whole challenge is how do you make complements between your value chain policies and your innovation policies. Of course, it's easy to say that, but there is a great challenge in that respect. A nice cartoon video which was there, which kind of ended up with a manual. If you really look carefully at that manual, you will not find anything almost which would help enlighten policymakers to integrate your innovation policy with global value chain policies. This is something which really further work is needed, because a policymaker doesn't have a policy toolbox how to go about it. So that is, for me, one of the crucial challenges. Second challenge, which I see as quite important, is that smart specialization requires quite developed institutional setup. It requires public-private interaction, cooperation between large and small firms, between domestic and foreign firms. And at the same time, you find in many regions, especially in Central Eastern Europe, the absence of strategic and coordination capabilities and institutions. And this is a very new thing for some of the regions, because they came out of the system and context where the emphasis was on macroeconomic framework, on privatization, where actually state was asked to be far away from specific industrial and business issues. And now they're faced with a new challenge. How do you go about building these bridges, but at the same time not being captured by specific sectoral interest? And smart specialization itself is now kind of inducing and provoking a new type of institutions, but this is something where many of the failures will come from entirely this institutional aspect. And the third challenge which I see is how do you tailor smart specialization to your specific country and region needs? Because EU 28 is quite diverse in that respect. There are countries which are at technology frontier, there are countries which are far behind. And that is something which is kind of very often too much forgotten. There is too much emphasis on the R&D-based growth, there is too much emphasis on supply-side innovation policies, and under-emphasis and too little importance given to demand-led innovation. What are the problems? What are the major issues in business sectors? And what R&D sector can do about it? There is too much kind of thinking, oh, we've got this nice technology, what are we going to do with that? Kind of. So this is something which I think requires a bit of thinking out of the box, and this is not always easy to do, because it's much easier to copy other solutions and say, well, what is good for developed countries region is probably good for my region as well. Well, actually, one would argue the opposite. No, you have to find your own way, you have to another route, but that requires really thinking out of the box, and that's really a challenge.